So to start off with Slag this week, leading up to TFCon, unfortunately, we have a death within the Transformers world, and it's a big one. Um, Wally Burr, also known as Walter Burr, famous voice director of Generation One and tons of other shows, passed away at 91 today, as of this recording. Um, and it's a shame. Wally, I got to meet him quite a few times because he was at, I believe it was BotCon 2004 was the first time I met him, and he was at a whole bunch of other BotCons. I know 2013 was the last one I saw him at, which was that awesome resort that they did it at in San Diego. But Wally was always a very eccentric guy, very cool. I've heard, there were so many stories about him, but he was a very awesome guy, very friendly, at least always to his fans. I guess maybe in his old age doing cons, he really appreciated that people still, liked what he did, despite the fact that in a lot of ways he's the guy behind the mic, not behind the microphone, but behind the glass more than anything.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you're not the rock star, you're the guy that's tuning the guitar. If anything. But yet he still got praise for what he's done because of, I think more so his reputation and how he became so popular and well known came from being built up by all the other voice actors who said so good and bad things about him. He wasn't someone without controversy. Wally was one of those individuals that Michael Bell once was quoted as saying he might partially be responsible for the death of Orson Welles.
Oh, jeez.
And Michael's probably joking. But it's just because Wally was one of those guys that he was known as a perfectionist. In the voice acting recording process of what's called the pre-dub, which is everyone's brought together and reads together and it's recorded and then it's animated over that, which is everyone prefers that process more because it's more organic, it's more real, the voice acting, because you're playing off of each other. But they were always saying how Wally was someone that because he always expected perfection out of his voice actors, that sometimes in his mind he had a really good idea of how the line should be delivered. And if that wasn't the way that the actor did it, he'd make the actor do it over and over until it was possible. And Michael Bell, I think it was not Michael Bell, but I don't know if it was Peter Cullen or somebody retold a story with with Wally, where when they had Orson Welles in the studio, Wally was doing the same thing that he did with everyone else, but he did it with Orson Welles, and Orson Welles turned to Wally and said, Mr. Burr, are you line reading me? Which is like something like, you should, it's like a director's like, no, you should say it like this. And Orson Welles, who, is Orson Welles.
Yeah, yeah.
Who already had a reputation before going into the 86 movie. He already had a reputation of chewing out directors and stuff. And there was this famous, a lot of people don't know this, because you could check it out on YouTube. There's this famous commercial.
Oh, God.
That Orson Welles, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the critic made fun of it too.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Where he's just chewing out this director of this commercial, and it's just because, here's Orson Welles, who was so well known for
Orson Welles.
What?
The great Orson Welles.
The great Orson, who was known for all his, his amazing acting and everything. And here he is doing, I think it was a commercial for champagne or something.
No, it was Peas.
No, Peas was afterwards. But
oh,
it was a
okay.
champagne
So yeah, then it was champagne
also.
then.
Yeah, so where he's chewing out this director, and it's just, anyways. The point is, so everyone, knew, oh my God, because he was like fresh off of that, right? And everyone's like, oh God, here he comes. We're all gonna get chewed out. It's like a Christian Bale, 86 situation. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, so. And here's Wally, who's like, I don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my job like I've always done my job, and he's just gonna have to deal with it, Orson Welles or not. He could be like, Oscar Schindler. It doesn't make a difference to me. It's not gonna change anything. So, in his case, he had a bit of a reputation for that, and there was this huge controversy when you had the animation voice actor strike of 1987, which was led by a whole bunch of voice actors, specifically Maurice LaMarche, Maurice LaMarche, just to give you an idea, Inspector Frickin' Gadget, as well as a million other things from your childhood. Maurice LaMarche is like, oh my god, I don't even know where to begin. He's like Brain from Pinky and the Brain. He's, Serpentor. It's just, he's someone who also, like, just the
Iconic.
WB and all kinds of stuff. And he kind of championed this, and he cited Wally Burr as one of those people that were a problem,
Ooh.
in where he was a director that, because it would take so long to do shoots because of repeat, and perfection, that Wally Burr was part of the problem and part of the reason why the strike happened, and never had anything nice to say about Wally for years. And then Baca in 2013, both Maurice LaMarche and Wally were in the same building together,
Oh, whoa. For the same
and
show
they did
or just so
the
happened?
same convention.
Huh?
Well, because they were both there, and well, I'll give credit to Maurice LaMarche. He had a panel, and Wally was there, and Maurice LaMarche had this long, written out apology for him, saying that he was, I'm sorry for being so harsh about you and everything. And it was just this huge, like, apology. And it was like he read it, like he had it written out, and it was just this apology to Wally, saying, you know what, maybe I said a little too much. I was being a bit of a dick. We're really grateful for all you've done, and maybe all that harshness is why the product was so great and celebrated today.
Mm,
You know, and there was clapping, and it led to them smiling and shaking
that's
hands.
awesome,
Like
man.
you, yeah, it was a really cool moment. Like, again, like the West Coast Bacons were amazing. I can't stress that. Like because they're all near Hollywood,
Right.
so you get all, like, the really cool stuff that comes. Like, um, Tyrese Gibson showed up with his daughter just out of the blue. Like, it's just, I mean, that's why I love the West Coast ones. I mean, Michael Bay was there. So I'm not saying that's a good thing, but the point is, a Michael Bay could be there. But but Wally had, the thing about him was, his body of work. What people don't realize is that regardless of which generation you were born in, you enjoyed something that he voice directed.
Yeah.
If you were a kid of the 70s, it was the Super Friends, which would be like one of the most predominant Hanna-Barbera shows of that generation outside of all the Scooby-Doo and everything. Or Adam's Family, which was also done, I think that was done by Hanna-Barbera also. If it was the 80s, it was the Dan Gilbas and Spider-Man, Inspector Gadget, Rainbow Bright, Robotics, Inhumanoids, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Dino Riders, Gem, My Little Pony, and here's one that a lot of people didn't realize: Akira.
Yeah.
He voice directed that famous first dub of Akira. Like Tetsuo.
Canada!
That's Wally Burr behind that. So if you're an '80s kid, that was all that. If you were a '90s kid, Bucky fucking O'Hare and Exo Squad. Two really good cult classics of '90s cartoons that should have been way longer than they were, but he was behind those too. He was, and
Inspector
and
Gadget.
all of those
Didn't you
shows
forget
that I
that?
listed, all of them. Sorry, what'd you say?
Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, Inspector Gadget also. Yeah, like all of those shows that I listed, all of them have great voice acting behind them, great repertoire, great, like that. Great characters, I guess is the best way to put it. And that's a lot. A lot of it credit that goes to him. And on top of that, he wasn't someone that just was someone who was a voice director. He was a voice actor himself. A lot of times he would fill in when other people couldn't do the jobs, or they couldn't get someone. When Scatman Crothers passed away just before season 3 was rolling around for Transformers, he took up the role of Jazz.
Mm.
A lot of people don't realize that in the episode of Kremzik, he was Jazz, because they just couldn't get Scatman at the time. And there's the same thing. That's why Scatman had that Jazz didn't have any lines in season 3, despite the fact that he appeared in it. He was the voice of, I believe, he was Sea Spray in one of the PSAs, like, that are used to, like, hey, and knowing is half the battle, all that stuff. Like, he would always just fill in the roles when they just, needed someone that could, because when you're a voice director, you're kind of mimicking them anyways.
Yeah.
So he was able to mimic some of those people and he did a good job. And of course, like his own character was Kremzik himself, which was the famous electrical transformer thingy. But he was also in all the other stuff. He was in Dynasty Warriors. He was in Soul Calibur. Like he was prolific. He was all over the place in
Yeah.
terms of even voice acting in other areas. But the biggest credit that actually, and I only learned about this because he passed away, was his biggest credit to his life was he actually was one of the youngest officers that were on the beaches of Normandy during D-Day.
Oh, no way.
And his son's wife posted a huge article about him because he passed away, and so they posted this about him, and it has tons of photos. And I'm going to post one or two of these photos in the thumbnail of the post on YouTube here of our episode, of him with when they stormed Normandy.
Wow.
And it's this huge post about his whole life in Germany and fighting the war and how he was there, and then because he was one of the few that survived, he was promoted to captain and everything. And then after that whole crazy life was over, he enrolled in Northwestern University and started his college life, which then domino affected into voice acting and voice directing. But he was there.
Wow.
He was there. And well, that's just it. So, one of those guys that it's a tragedy that he passed away at 91, but full life.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Full frickin' life, this guy. And again, I'm going to link in the description this whole article about him in World War II, and it's fascinating. It's a bit of a read, but it really covers, like, literally 1941, 1942, 1943, just everything that was going down when he was, when he was promoted to second lieutenant and blah blah blah. And there's photos too, which looks great. You see photos of him with the Normandy Brigade of 1944, and when he was in England in 45. Like it's fascinating. It's really interesting stuff. But yeah, rest in peace, Wally. You were amazing. I think my greatest memory of him was honestly at TFCon 2012, when we made the big mistake of having him be the voice judge.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So usually what we do, for people who don't understand, every year at TFCon we have our script reading, where we get some of the fans to compete against each other to play as characters in a script reading with some of our voice actors that we have that year, whatever year that may be. So, but usually what we do every year is we'll get the voice actors that will be doing the script, we'll get them to be the judges too. So if we have a Scott McNeil and a David Kay, let's say, we'll get them to be the judges for the voice cast that will be, you're going to be doing the role of Starscream. How would your Starscream sound? So we would have them judge. We got Wally that year to do it because we thought, well, he's a voice director. Who would not be better than Wally?
Oh, no.
But what we ended up learning the hard way was that instead of Wally just judging people and then moving right along, he found it his goal to help people instead. So someone would come up and try to do Starscream, and if it was someone who's just bad at Starscream or just can't do the voice, instead of just saying, okay, thank you, next, and giving him a 1 or something, he'd be like, no, lower your voice a bit, dude. And he was doing that for every single person. so it got to the point that it was getting to the time to actually do the script reading, and they weren't even done yet, the auditions.
Oh, I remember that year.
Yeah. So I mean it's hilarious, but at the same time, props for him for trying to help people.
Yeah.
Evan Entertainment, one of our guys at TFCon staff, did a very good interview with him, and he mentioned some really solid tidbits about if you want to get into the voice acting industry. And these were these were straight up honest, like make or break, you will fail, but tidbits about if you want to get into this industry. Here's some advice: record yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't think it's bad, you shouldn't be in this industry because it means you have no ear for it. It means that like you can't critique yourself.
Yeah.
It's but good advice. And rightfully so from someone that's the top tier of it.
Yeah.
I would be I would not be out of line by saying he was definitely like that Steven Spielberg of his job. You know, would not be out of line. And I know that since he's passed away, everyone from every walk of life, from Aaron Archer of Hasbro and everyone has been just praising him.
Hmm.
The past like couple of hours since this news is broke. Dan Gilbazin, G1 Bumblebee, was the one who broke the news to everyone this morning. But yeah, so rest in peace, Wally. You have any memories, Wendell?
Rest in
Before we
peace, man.
just that you don't have any memories. Just you. I know more. You were just chilling with the other voice actors.
No, but I remember I was like, why isn't the voice acting done? Like this is taking long.
Yeah,
And then we're like,
that was that.
they're still auditioning. I don't understand what's going on. And then like you came out, and you're like, oh my god, he was just
Yeah,
helping everybody, like everybody.
yeah, it was cool that he did it, but yeah, at the same time, that was him. That's who he was, though. He was a
Yeah.
perfectionist, and but you know what? We're grateful for it. He even I probably should just say this before we close up. Peter Cullen and him even admitted that the creation of G1 Optimus Prime's voice was because originally Wally wanted something that was a lot more action
Mm.
and loud, and Peter was like, if I keep this up, I'm not going to be able to do other jobs because my voice will be shot.
Right.
So Wally's like, then do you want to do something that's more laid back and more relaxed? And that was the Optimus Prime that was created. That was more like John Wayne. And it was because of Wally's abrasiveness and then agreeing we'll do something else that created the Optimus Prime that we know today.
Mm.
Who wasn't a yeller, instead was more of a laid back leader.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. Again, another Wally Burr thing that we, if not, we wouldn't have what we have today. So rest in peace, Wally. You'll be missed.
Rest in peace.